Turn simple holiday photos into something magical is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Oh. That was an interesting start. All right, so for the new year, or actually for the holiday season, you're going to be spending a lot of time with your family and your friends. So they kind of gave me an idea, especially in my household. When I go back to New York to visit my family, it's going to be chaotic, everyone running all over the place, and there's going to be downtime. And what I mean by downtime in our household is when everyone is running off doing their own thing, I like to whip out the camera and capture something like this. Now, this wasn't one of my photos. I wish it was, but here's a good example. But look at this. This image right here, it's a nice image, but this is what it started with. Look at the difference. So the other image, this is what we started with, and this is what we're going to end up with. So if I sat there and looking at that beautiful arrangement, in my mind, this is what I would have seen. So learn not to photograph what you see, but what you imagine it to be. All right? So let's start off. Now, I will say this. In this image here, I'm going to reset everything. Convert to original. Okay, now, what I did do for this image is I did go in with Gen Erase, and I did remove a lot of distracting elements. And the only reason why I'm not going to show it now is because it is time consuming. So this is something you can look at, like in this case here, like they shot this at 2.8. Let's double check. Yes. No, 6.3. So they shot this for 6.3, 1.6 seconds. So obviously they held it on a tripod. Me personally, I would have upped the ISO, cranked the ISO up, and shot at f16 or f22. The reason for it is those specular highlights in the candles, you would get the beautiful burst if this person shot it at f16 or f22, because obviously they had it on a tripod, 1.6. I know they wanted to keep the ISO low. So just remember the new way of thinking. The exposure triangle, that's a thing of the past. The new way of thinking should be start with shutter. Choose your shutter for purpose. What's the purpose? In this case, or let's say waterfall. I want it to be soft and flowing. I'm going to drag the shutter. If it's for sports, I'm going to increase the shutter to make it quick, and I can pause the action. Here, I'm going to use shutter so I can, for the purpose, is so my f-stop will be high. So I choose the shutter, and then from there, you use your f-stop. The exposure, the aperture of the f-stop, like we said, we're going to shoot that for art, or for our creativity. f22 will be perfect. f16 will be great too. And that leaves ISO. The ISO we'll use to balance out the light. Now, since we have it on a tripod, you can experiment and play, but yes, that sweet spot for this image should have been f16, in my opinion. All right? So let me show you how I would fix it now. So I like what we did here, and I did decide, like I said, to remove those distracting elements, and we ended up with this, which gave me a TIFF. Since this was a JPEG, I don't have to worry about camera raw, so I'm going to leave that towards the end. What I do want to do is play with light. So let's come down here to the light depth tool, and I'm just going to give it an arbitrary amount, and let's bring it right about here. But the real reason why I'm doing this is so we can bring back our old friend right here, the relight tool. So look what I'm doing down here. I want what's closest to the camera to be a little bit darker, and the same thing from behind. So here it is. Here's before. Here's after. Look how it's making the candles look 3D. So I'm bringing it out. I don't want to go too much. Right about there. All right, so this is good. we're off to a good start. I liked how I controlled the light. Now, let me dial it back just a little bit. Now I want to come in with the develop tool. Or actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to come in with studio light. Now, I overlooked this one because when I think of studio light, I think of the studio. Just think of this as relighting at a different level. So what I'm going to do is this. I'll give it an arbitrary amount just to get the ball rolling, and that's going to give me a pin. So once I have my pin, I'm going to move it right about here, but this is what I want to work on. Look at that light contrast. So I'm going to do a balancing act here. I like it right about here. I went a little too heavy on the relight, so I'm going to fix that in a moment. And now here's the depth. Look at this. I'm going to bring that in. Now it's taking shape. I could come in, and this is something you have to decide. Do you want to add, some little texture to it? I think the texture looks pretty good. So you know what? I will leave it. All right. Now let's go back to edit. Think of edit, like we said before, as your history. From here, I'm going to go back to light depth. And I think I went a little too heavy with it. I didn't like what it was doing to the flames. There we go. Yep. So I'm going to do a little balancing act, like I said, with light depth. I'll dial it back just a little bit more. Right about there. And this is all fine. Let's get a little more golden tones. All right, there we go. Now I got it where it's looking. I'm going to dial this down a little. Right about there. All right. So again, I'm going to continue with light. I'm going to continue with directing the light. This is a little too much here. So now let's go into develop. And let's contrast it up just a little bit. I'm going to enrich the shadows just a touch and the black points. But this is where we're going to come in here with the exposure. I normally don't touch exposure unless I'm doing like a global change. I want to make everything dark right about there. That looks good. Now, again, we're going to paint with light. I'm going to come in, and I want that effect to be everywhere except this area. So let's invert it. There we go. There. Now I'm getting the areas around a little bit darker. That looks good. And again, I'm going to continue with the light. So let's go to enhance. And I'm going to bring this out just a little bit. And now I'm going to paint where I want that to be. So I'm going to start out, and I'm thinking, here's the candle. So this is going to be a little more lit because we want this to appear. And then we'll just bring this down in here. There we go, a little too much. Let me erase it. There we go. And actually, I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. Right about here. So I want this to be a little bit darker than this. All right, let's see the difference. See if that makes a difference. Yeah, look at that. So what we're really doing right now is just painting with light. Right about there. And I'm going to erase right in here. Just a little bit. All right? And again, this is artistic. You can decide where you want it to go and where you don't want it to go. All right? So now that I have that set, I want to come down and let's do a little color harmony. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I want to get a little more of that golden tones. Now that we have it all set, let's come in and let's work on magic light. Now, if you notice, I'm getting this weird, this right here is because of the my graphics card. This shouldn't be there. You should see a beautiful, in fact, I'll go to an extreme so you can see it. That's what we should be seeing. But again, my graphics card is giving me these little white blotches. Now, I'm going to go to an extreme only because I want to see what it's actually doing. So let's sort of clean this here. Bring the brightness down just a little bit. The beam width is fine. The number of beams, it was set to 7. That's crazy. So right about here, something like this would give us, if we shot this at 16, F16, It'll probably be right about there. We shot it at f22. It probably would have been about there. And let's bring the width down and the size down. So that's the glow. So you want to get the number of beams. We already said that was good. Rotation. Yeah, that was the glow. Right about here. Size, what? There we go. Good. All right. Now that we have that set, you can decide. I'm going to dial it back just a little bit. I want it there, but not overbearing. Now, if I didn't want one of these here, this is where you would click delete. And if I came over here and erased this, it would erase it from those spots. If I wanted to add, let's say we wanted to add a beam here, I could do one of these things. And now the beam is there. We're going to get rid of that. So that just so you know, if it doesn't show, that's something you can do. Now there's that little one. That's not, to me, I'm not going to worry about it. But because I did erase a lot of stuff, later I would probably erase this right here. But for now, I'm going to leave it just for the sake of going through the tutorial. All right, let's see if that makes a difference. Before, after, I think so. So I'm going to keep it. And let's see where we are so far. Before. And now, this is what I'm envisioning. I'm seeing this. And by the way, like I said, that here is bothering me. Let's see. Back to it. Right here. If that's bothering you during your editing, then just get rid of it. Because right now, for me personally, my eye keeps being drawn to that. And it's distracting. It's taking away from some of the other things I want to do. So I'm going to try traditionally erase. It did a very good job, so I'm going to keep it. If it didn't do a good job, then I would go in and use Gen Erase. All right? There we have it. You know what? It's still not giving me that. I want that warmth. So why don't we go down here to colors? Let's see if this will help. There we go. Now I could do it from here, or we could have came in and used colors here and adjusted it that way too. What we did right there, I have no problem with. It's a little too much. And just a little bit. There we go. All right. So let's look at the reveal. This is what we are looking at. This is what we saw. This is what we envision. So remember, don't photograph what you see. Photograph what you imagine it to be. And in this case, there's going to be a lot of things we could do over the holiday season. That like I said, if you're sitting there, you're bored, look around the house at different ornaments and different settings, and then from there, create art with it. And what's really neat is when you're done doing it, show your family. And I bet they're going to look at that and go, wait, when did you see it like this? You saw it in your mind. All right? Well, I hope that helps. Now, Luminar Coffee Break, we will not have it next week because of Christmas. And then the week after that will be New Year's Eve. So we won't have the episodes for those 2 weeks. So this will be the last episode for the month. I'm hoping to get an email out to everybody. So January, we have a packed schedule. I can't wait for you to see the new things we're going to be doing in the new year. All right. And make sure you do join our Facebook group right here for the upcoming information that we'll be doing. And if you're here, please stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. For everyone else, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.